trust everyone is doing well. Had a good week. Had a good week on vacation. Some getting ready to go on vacation. It's a good thing. Some rest and relaxation. I was sitting on the. We rented a little cottage at the campground, and lady was coming by doing. She says, "You look relaxed." I'm like, "Thank you." That's a good thing. I'm glad I look relaxed. So, this morning, as I was preparing and studying this week, last night I began. Everybody's different. Everybody preaches different. Everybody prepares differently. Everybody's different, right? I never write notes. I am not a note writer. I don't know why. I write my scriptures down, and I guess God takes over from there. I don't know. It's just different. I don't know. But I was as I was looking over things last night, I actually wrote something down, which is unusual for me. But things began to flow, and so I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget them. But as you guys y'all know me, y'all kind of know where I am, and still God, I don't know that I'm going to go anywhere different for a long time. I don't know. Y'all just have to listen to me, and and if I get too boring, y'all tell me. No, I'm just picking. Hopefully the Lord speaks to you through what He said to me and what I say. You don't need to hear me anyway. You need to hear Him. But this life that we now live, that's kind of where I am. The last time I spoke, I talked about being certain about my future. I know where when I leave this body, I know, like I said, I'm not an end-time eschatologist. I don't claim to be, don't want to be. I don't believe that's what God has in mind for me to speak about. But all I know is that when I leave this body, I'm with Him, period, right? And I don't have any qualms about that. I don't have any reserve about where I'm going to be when I leave this body. I'm going to be with Him, period. And how that happens and how I get there, guess what? God's with me right now, and He's never going to leave me. He's never going anywhere. He's always with me. And so from this point forward, for all of your life, from the time you were born, God's been with you. Whether you knew it or not, He was there. And He's never going to leave you or forsake you. He's never going anywhere. And so from the time I was put on this earth until the time I leave this earth, I'm with Him, and then I will forever be with Him, period, right? Okay? So I don't worry about that. I don't have any concern about that. That's firmly implanted in this body, in this mind, in this soul, in this spirit. Every part of me has knowledge of that, and I understand that, and I know that, right? But where I will talk about myself, right? I'm going to talk about myself. Where I seem to have issues is about this life that I now live, where I'm at right now. And as I began to look at things again last night before I went to bed and kind of prepare for this morning, and even this morning as I got up, God was speaking. And so I'm just going to read what I wrote. And but this life that we live needs to be a life lived from a place of rest. And I believe that's been a part of this ministry for a long time. That the life we live needs to be a life lived from a place of rest, not a life that's lived out of work or out of a mentality of working or things that I have to do. But that's very hard for us to understand in the flesh. That's very hard for us to understand in the flesh, okay? Because, everything that we have in this life that we live, we have to work for, right? I mean, if you don't work, you don't eat. You gotta go to work to have a job to get fit. We have this one side of us that is very fleshly minded, that is very fleshly oriented, that we look at things from that perspective. But if we look at things from the way the world puts them to us, it doesn't fit our spiritual life. It doesn't fit our spiritual life. We can't make this life that I now live work through a flesh mentality. Work through a mentality that's looked at the way that we look at our flesh sometimes. But what I'm beginning to understand is I need to allow the way that I look at my spiritual life and the way that I understand my spiritual life, I need to let that affect my physical life. This life that I now live. And that, if I'm living a life where I believe that I'm living from a place of rest, Pastor Randy has taught us so well. We have an outer court, an inner court, and a most holy place. They moved from Egypt to the wilderness to a land of promise. So we went from a place of where we worked over here to a place we were led by Him, and everything was provided. They had everything they needed. Okay? They had manna that rained down from heaven, and they had they had a cloud by day. They had a pillar of fire by night that led them. They had need of nothing, really, but they didn't have everything that in their mind they wanted. Okay? But we move into a place of promise where we reap where we have sown not. And there's more than enough, and there's more than plenty, and I have grapes and honey and milk that flow, and all of these things that I could not even think or imagine that are provided for me. Okay? But that's not just to me. What I'm beginning to see, or the way that I see the God that I serve, is that's not just speaking to me spiritually. They had physical grapes that were bigger than took numerous men to carry a cluster of grapes. Okay, I can't imagine grapes like that. I've never seen grapes like that before. Okay? But that was something they had in the physical. It was not something spiritual. They had it in the physical. It was in the flesh. So they were in a place where they reaped where they had sown not. They were in a place of rest. They didn't have to work for the food that they had, for what God provided for them. I'm in a place in my life where I feel where God is speaking to me, that there's a place of rest that we need to enter into, that it's not about what we have in this spirit, in this fleshly life, and it's not about the way we think about things in this flesh, but our mind needs to be transformed into a place spiritually. Spiritually, our minds need to be transformed to where we're not looking at things how we've been taught. How we've been taught in this world, things have to go. Things have to happen. You have to do this in order to get there. You have to work like this to get there. If you look at things in the flesh, I mean, one of the things I wrote down is I'm not naive. And I'm not talking about being naive, about being stupid, about being I don't know what other word I want to use, about being neglectful or being, just thinking that, things are poof going to happen. But I'm talking about there's a place in Him. There's a place that He desires for us to be in Him, where these things are very relevant or very present in our life. That they're very tangible, they're very concrete, they're very certain. And it's not about what I can make happen or what I can do or how I can make it happen, but it's about me understanding who He is in me, who He's created me to be, and the life that He's given me to live. My God's bigger. He's so much bigger. I'm at a place in life where all that I begin to see and know and understand, I don't even begin to think that I have all the answers, or that I can answer all the questions, or that I can make everything perfect. Or we live in a very imperfect world, and things are not perfect. But I'm beginning to see, and what God is teaching me and what God is showing me is that I'm here every step of the way. That I am there every step of the way. That I am with you every step of the way. And that if you begin to see that I'm here, I'm there, I'm not somewhere else, I'm not over there just dealing with Sally, and so you're over here by yourself, you're alone, and there's nobody with you because I got to take care of Sally right now. So you're just going to have to deal with it. That's not the God that we serve. He is present everywhere. He's present in every single one of us, 100% of the time. But yet, my mind seems to forget that. My knowing seems to forget that I am never alone, that I'm not by myself, that He's always with me and He's always present, and that so therefore it doesn't matter what the world puts in front of me, what happens in front of me, or what's there in my life, because guess what? God's already there. God's already present. God's already made the way. God's already seen me through it. It's just my mindset, my understanding, my knowing needs to be so certain in Him, so connected to Him, that I'm not swayed or moved by the things that are in front of me. Because guess what? I know that I am the healed of the Lord. I know that I have the provision that God has given me. I know that I am all that He says I am, that I am able to do everything that He says that I can do, that I am more than a conqueror, I'm more than able, I'm more than enough, and all these things because of the Christ that dwells on the inside of me. So there's a life that needs to be lived from a place of rest, from a place of understanding, from a place of knowing, from a place where I am no longer working for it, or I no longer have just enough. You know, when manna came, how much could they keep? Just enough for today. Just enough. They had just enough for today. We couldn't have enough for tomorrow and for the rest of the week. We had just enough for today. God doesn't want me to live in a place where I have just enough for today. Just enough for today, but a place where I see and I understand that He's provided for every single day. That He's provided for every single thing. That for everywhere that I go and everything that I do, there's more than enough. There's more than enough for me. There's more than enough for you. There's more than enough for every single person that I know. For even every person that I don't know. For every man that shall walk upon the face of the earth, there's more than enough. And that's living from a place of knowing and understanding. Not a place of guessing and wondering. And you know, when I wrote these things, I thought, you know what? Somebody's going to tell me I'm crazy. And it's okay. But a place of manifestation, a place of where I know who I am, and a place where I know whose I am. It's not just about knowing who I am, but knowing who I am because of whose I am. Because I am His. More than anything, I'm a child of God. I'm His, and because I'm His, then I can know who I am. I can know who I've been created to be. A certain place. A place of no questions. You know what? If I'm living in a place where I can see those grapes, that honey and that milk flowing, where I can see more than enough, where I can see and understand that there's plenty, that guess what? I don't have to get up in the morning and go gather anything so that I have what I need for today. It's already there. What I have for today, it's already there. I just have to open my eyes and see it. I just have to open my eyes and see that it's already there. I don't have to get up and go gather it and, hope that I have enough for today. And that tomorrow, that when I get up, that it's there again for me to gather it again. It's already there. That I don't have to question it. So I believe Pastor Randy is telling us what he's preaching us. What we're learning in this house is, he tells us to pray in the Spirit. Pray in the Spirit. Guess what? Because the Spirit gives thanks well. Why does the Spirit give thanks well? Because guess what? It lives from a place that it doesn't question. It knows that there's more than enough. There's enough for me today. There's enough for me tomorrow. There's enough for me until my spirit dwells with Him eternally. It doesn't question. It doesn't have concern. It's very certain about who I've been created to be, about whose I am, and there's no question in Him. Guess why? That's why He can give thanks well. He can give thanks well because He knows. My spirit man knows. That part of me knows and understands very well exactly who I am, exactly whose I am, who I've been created to be. A place of no worry or fear. When I wrote this, I wrote a place of no mountain and no valley. And you know why? I was like, I'm always confused about whether if I'm on a mountain, if I'm supposed to be happy or sad, or if I'm in a valley, is that a good place or a bad place? I don't understand all that. I never know which is which. Which one's the good place and which one's the bad place. But you know what? In Him, there really is no mountain or valley. It's all the same. Why? Because my God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Do you believe that? Do you believe God's the same yesterday, today, tomorrow, the next day? Well, then guess what? There is no change in Him. So guess what? My mindset should never change. My understanding should never change. My knowledge should never change that God is with me. God is with me. I'm not in this alone. I'm not by myself. He hasn't left me to climb a mountain on my own. He hasn't left me to be in a valley where the river flows and the plants grow and that I'm not there alone. And guess what? If I understand who I am, then I'm not worried about a mountain I may have to climb, because guess what? I'm not climbing it by myself. He's walking me up. So my steps are no harder because He's with me. He's with me. He's there. He hasn't changed. So why do I think that He can do it for you today? Can do it for you today, but tomorrow He can't do it for me? Or that what He's done for you in the past, He can't do for you today or tomorrow? I have miracles that I know have been performed in my life. There are miracles that have happened in my life. And I know that. When I look back, I see and I understand and I know that was God. That was Him. But why today, when I face something that may be not even close in the physical, that I would see that my God is any less than He was then? I'm not saying, just like I said, that we should be naive, but we should live our lives from a place of knowledge and understanding, a place of knowing. We've never lived in this place before. Before, we were always, you have to pray and believe and you have to have faith. You hope. I hope you have a wonderful day. Nope, today is a wonderful day. Today is a wonderful day. I don't have to hope that you have a wonderful day. Today is a wonderful day. Why is it a wonderful day? Because Christ is with me. Because I'm not standing here by myself. I'm not alone. It is a wonderful day. Even change the way that we speak and the way we communicate to each other and the things that we say about the life that we now live. That we live this life from a place of thanksgiving because I know that is the God that I serve. To live from a place of knowing. I don't understand it all and I don't claim to, but I see a bigger God that desires for me to know Him, for me to know His plan, for me to understand Him, to understand His ways. That's, the Bible tells us, and I'm not sure if it's one of the I do have scriptures. I don't ever talk this long without reading scriptures. I don't know what's wrong with me. So I wrote notes. That's what happens. He desires for us to know and to understand. He doesn't desire for me to live in the dark. He doesn't desire for me to live from a place where I'm guessing and hoping and wondering what's going to happen today. No, He desires for me to know, guess what? God's with me today. God's with me today. He's here today. He's with me always. So how can I ever be out of His will? How can I ever not be where God wants me to be? If God's with me everywhere I go. I believe that if I know who I am in Him, if I know who He's created me to be, then the desires of my life are the desires that He has for me. The desires that I have for me are the desires that He has for me, or what He put inside of me. So therefore, if my desire is Him, and I am longing after Him, then where I'm going, where I'm walking, where I am is where He desires for me to be. It's not about whether I'm doing right or wrong. Because guess what? My desire is to do what God wants me to do. So what is my desire? My desire is always to do right. Because His desire for me is to do right. Is to be the person He created me to be. So it's not about whether I want to do right or wrong. I'm always wanting to do what God desires for me to do. I want to be the person that He created me to be. Am I perfect in that? No, I prove it to my children every single day. I'm not perfect in that. They will tell you real quick like, no, Mom's not perfect. They'll be the first people to tell you that. But it doesn't mean that I'm not striving to be the person that Christ created me to be. So I have come to a place of no return. Crazy, stupid, whatever it is, wherever I am, I've come to a place of no return. I can't go back now. Whatever you want to call it, there's no going back. He's the God. He is the God we say He is, or He is not. He either is that God or He isn't. One of the two. You've got to make a choice. That is who He is or is not. I'm at a place in my life right now that God is who I says He is. God is the God that I believe Him to be. The God that His Word tells me He is. And He is that person in my life every single day, 24 hours a day, every single year. That is who He is. Or I can't change my mind. I can't give up on that. And I'm at a place in life where I have to make that decision. That God is who He says He is. I am who God says I am. That it's either true or it's not. And it's not halfway true. It's not a little bit true. It either is or it isn't. I have to make up my mind that I'm going to believe God and I'm going to trust God in everything, in every way, and understand who I am. Allow Him to teach me every single day who I am in Him. When I get up this morning, He is present. He is present in my life, and He is there to lead me and guide me through this day and to walk every step with me, and that we're not alone and we're not by ourselves, and that God is who He says He is, and I am who He says I am. I'm going to read these scriptures real quick. I want to go to Romans chapter 12 and verse 3. It says, I'm speaking to you out of a deep gratitude for all that God has given me, and especially as I have responsibilities in relation to you. Living then, as every one of you does, in pure grace, it is important that you don't misinterpret yourselves as people who are bringing this goodness to God. No, God is bringing it all to you. The only accurate way to understand ourselves is by what God is and by what He is doing for us. The only way for me to understand me is to understand me by Him. I have to know who I am by Him. I have to get my knowing from Him. My knowing doesn't come from me. My goodness doesn't come from me. My righteousness doesn't come from me. My goodness, my righteousness, me living in pure grace Everything that I am comes from who He is. Period. Knowing Him, knowing who He is, knowing what He's done and what He has done for me. It all has to come from Him. Romans chapter 3 and verse 21. It says, "But in our time something new has been added. What Moses and the prophets witnessed to all those years has happened. The God setting things right that we read about has become Jesus setting things right for us. And not only for us, but for everyone who believes in Him. For there is no difference between us and them in this. Since we've compiled this long and sorry record of sinners, both us and them, and proved that we are utterly incapable of living the glorious life God wills for us." God wills for us a glorious life. I am utterly incapable of living that life in and of myself. If I try to get who I am from me, if I try to understand this life I live because of me, I am utterly incapable of living the glorious life that God wills for me. It says God wills for me to live a glorious life. His will for me is a glorious life. A glorious life is my life later. I'm living right now, correct? I'm living now. I'm living a life now. So the glorious life that He desires for me to live is right now. God did it for us out of sheer generosity. He put us in right standing with Himself, a pure gift. He got us out of the mess we were in and restored us to where He always wanted us to be. And He did it by means of Jesus Christ. Where did God always want us? Where He always wanted me to be in perfect communion with Him. He created me. He created Adam and Eve to have communion with them, to talk with them, to have a relationship with them, to be part of their lives. He came and spoke with them in the cool of the day. They audibly heard the voice of God speaking to them. That was why He created us. So why would we think that we were restored to anything less than to have a relationship with Him where He was always present, where He was always there? He was always in perfect communication with us. One more scripture, Matthew 6 and verse 30. It says, "If God gives such attention to the appearance of wildflowers, most of which are never even seen, don't you think He'll attend to you, take pride in you, do His best for you?" What I'm trying to do here is to get you to relax and not be preoccupied with getting, so that you respond to God's giving. We need to respond to God's giving. What I want, what I think I need, is far less than what God has in store for me. It's far less than what God has for me. So you know what? If I can respond to His giving, then I'll have much more than what I even want or desire or think I need. People who don't know God and the way He works fuss over these things, but you know both God and how He works. If we know God and we know how He works, which is His desire for us, then there should be a different understanding about the way I live my life. There should be a different understanding about a manifestation of Christ in my life. There should be a different understanding about the things that flow and that happen in my life, this glorious life that I've been given to live. Steep your life in God reality, God initiative, God provisions. Don't worry about missing out. You'll find all your everyday human concerns will be met. Give your entire attention to what God is doing right now, and don't get worked up about what may or may not happen tomorrow. So if I understand that God today, He'll be the same God to me tomorrow. So if He's with me today, He's with me tomorrow. No matter what happens tomorrow, He's still there. He's still right there. He hasn't gone anywhere, and He's not going anywhere. So if He's with me today and He's with me tomorrow, then why do I need to worry about what may happen tomorrow? Because He's still there. Guess what? What I face tomorrow, God's already provided for it. It's already taken care of. My mindset, my mentality, my knowing must change. It has to change. Or I'm going to live my life the same way that I've always lived it. I've had a good life. I'm not saying I hadn't. Had a good life. God's always been there. But you know what? I worry and fret about things. Or I have worried and fretted about things and stayed up, not slept because I was worried about something that was going to happen tomorrow. That's what I'm saying, is that things are going to happen. Things are going to come. We live in a world that is very imperfect. That things happen because of the world that we live in. But it doesn't change the fact that God is with me every step of the way. That God is there. That He hasn't left me. And that, guess what? What I face tomorrow, I face it with Him just like I face today with Him. No matter good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, what I need to understand is who He is in me. And that I get I get who I am. I get this life that I now live because of who He is. Because of what He's done. And that if I can understand that, then tomorrow doesn't bring worry and fear. It brings a knowing that, guess what? When I open my eyes tomorrow, the grapes are still there. They haven't gone anywhere because they didn't get there because I put them there or because I made something happen for them to be there. He gave them to me and He put them in my life so that I would have more than enough, that I would have abundance, that I wouldn't worry and I wouldn't say, oh, is the manna coming in the morning? Am I going to have food today? God will help you deal with whatever hard things come up when the time comes. He's there. He's already provided. But my knowing needs to change. My knowing needs to change to what that spirit man knows. What he's a giving thanks for well. Knowing that all I need to do is give thanks because it's already been provided for. It's already there. He's already provided more than enough. And He knows what's coming tomorrow. And He's already made provision for tomorrow. And He knows what's coming 3 months from now. And He's already made provision for what comes 3 months from now. What I need to do is I need to be in that relationship with Him. I need to be in that place with Him where He communes with me, where I commune with Him, where I have conversation with Him, and I allow Him to have conversation with me, and I know Him the way that He knows me. He desires for me to know Him the way that He knows me. You know, I think I know Dean. I think I know him. Been with him a long time. He just looks at me, he says, order my food. I'm like, This woman, this taking my order, she thinks that right there is a bossy woman. Not really. He just don't want to tell him. And I think I know him. Why? Because I've been with him and we've had conversation and we have a relationship. But guess what? God knows him better than I do. God knows him better than I do. But God desires for us to know him that way. He desires for us to know him that way. Me knowing him that way is the only way that I become transformed, that I begin to understand this life that he has for me to live, that I begin to live in that place of rest where I understand that tomorrow's taken care of. Why? Because tomorrow's no different than today. And 3 months from now is no different than today. Why? Because my God didn't change. My God didn't go anywhere. Guess what? My God, the only thing that I see God changing is that he gets bigger. You know why he gets bigger? Because my knowledge of him gets bigger. Because I begin to see, guess what? He's even better than I thought he was. He's even bigger than I thought He was. He's even more marvelous than I thought He was. He's more glorious. He's more gracious. There's more mercy than I thought He could ever have. Because I begin to see Him and I begin to know Him more. And begin to understand that my God is a good God. And He's a big, big God. And He loves me big. He loves me big. He doesn't just love me a little bit. He loves me big. It's overwhelming. Begin to see God the way that He sees you. Begin to understand Him the way He understands you. Because, He understands me in a way that I don't understand myself. He sees me in a way I don't see me. He sees me bigger than I see me. He sees you bigger than you see you. You begin to see yourself differently when you begin to understand Him. When you begin to know Him that way, then you begin to see yourself in a different way. You begin to understand yourself differently. And understand who you've been created to be and whose you've been created to be. Thank you.